On Sunday, Jesus arrived at the temple. He looked around a little bit, possibly planning his next move, and then he heads back to Bethany for the night.
Welcome to day 2, the Monday before Easter.
This day will be remembered for two seemingly unrelated, slightly bizarre events involving a fig tree and money flying through the air.
And we read about it in Mark chapter 11. It says, "The next morning, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. He noticed a fig tree in full leaf a little way off, so he went over to it to see if it had any figs. But there were only leaves because it was too early in the season for fruit. Then Jesus said to the tree, 'May no one ever eat your fruit again.' And the disciples heard him say it."
This incident has always confused me. Jesus knew that figs don't grow this time of year. Why would he get upset with a simple tree? Did he wake up on the wrong side of the mat? Was something bothering him? Was he frustrated? As Jesus leaves the fig tree and heads off towards the temple, I'm left with this question. Why would he use his God-divine power to kill a simple tree?
You know, that is such a great question, but if you think that's confusing, as we catch up with Jesus as he's walking into the temple court, we find that whatever was stirring inside of him as he cursed that fig tree is now spilling out, and the target are the merchants and the money changers. You know, we're sitting just outside the Western Wall, which is the most holy place for the Jewish people to come worship. It's the closest they can actually get to where that temple was. And in Mark chapter 11, here's how it tells the story of what Jesus was walking into.
It says, when they arrived back in Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out the people buying and selling animals for sacrifices. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves, and he stopped everyone from using the temple as a marketplace. He said to them, "The scriptures declare, 'My temple will be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have turned it into a den of thieves."
So what is going on here? I mean, it seems like Jesus is uncharacteristically irritated. He goes and curses a fig tree. He topples over these money changers' tables, and they had every right to be there. What's happening?
You know, most times we're taught that Jesus flipped out because people were bringing business into the church, or that the merchants were ripping off their customers.
You know, in that passage you read, there's something that indicates there's a lot more going on here. In fact, it says right there in Mark chapter 11, Jesus says this, he says, "The scriptures declare, 'My temple will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves.'" Let me ask you a question. Where do thieves practice their craft? They don't practice it in their den. I mean, the den is the refuge, it's the safe house. It's where they come with their loot after they've robbed somebody. So I don't think this is really talking about people practicing their craft of ripping people off. I think that this is talking about the den where the thieves are actually living in, which is the temple.
Jesus wasn't attacking the money changers, even though there was extortion and poor business practices going on. He was actually attacking the religious leaders of the day who were living in that den.
Yeah, you know, we just need to pause and listen to the message that Jesus is sending. He's saying, look, the same way I killed off that fig tree because it wasn't producing fruit, I'm killing off this temple. God is shutting this temple down because it's not producing fruit. After 1,000 years of operation, he's saying God is shutting this place down.
And then Mark chapter 11 verse 18 says, when the leading priests and teachers of religious law heard what Jesus had done, they began planning how to kill him. But they were afraid of him because the people were so amazed at his teaching.
He sent two clear messages. The first one was on Sunday, I am the king, and my kingdom is not like anything you've ever seen. And now on Monday, he's sending this message saying, these stones and this temple that has been operating for 1,000 years, I'm shutting it down and I'm setting up a brand new way of approaching God.